With the saddle on the knee now, again the fixed way side over here is scraped in flat and perpendicular to the back of the saddle. And now what I want to do is I want to start fitting the gib. And right out of the gate, this is a rough gib. It's pretty close. I mean, it's almost flush with the front here right now, and I want to have a fair amount of adjustment when I'm finished. So and then the other thing that I just noticed, it's about 2 inches too long at this point, so I'm going to cut that off, and that'll be flush with the back of the saddle, because I don't want to start scraping and getting surfaces flat and then put a bunch of stress in the part by cutting off this end. So I'm going to get this cut off first, get it close. I'm going to roughly flatten out the back here. This is the one that goes up against the saddle that doesn't move, and then start trying to fit it. Hopefully I don't have to put any turkite on it. I really don't want to, but if I have to, I will. So I cut that end off there and just filed those edges a little bit, just make sure it didn't have anything sticking up there. And then I've run a file across both surfaces here. And one of the things, I'm not sure whether it shows up. I'll try and get a picture of it. It almost appears as if there's a wood grain here. Sometimes I just see things. So before starting to scrape it, I just make sure it's flat. I don't hear anything where it's got a bow in it. Either way, there's a little bit. Maybe this end here has just got a little bit in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rough scrape the back side, the side that would not be the bearing surface, just goes up against the saddle side. I'll start with that one, just get it flat. So this is just the non-moving side of the gib. This is the side that would go up against the saddle itself. So it just needs to be flat. It's not a bearing surface. It's not something that's sliding. I mean, other than when you adjust the gib. But so, anyways, that's we're gonna call that good here for this side, and then we'll start working on how is the fit on the actual sliding side. I'm just I wanted to verify one more time before I actually fit the gib. I wanted to verify the movement of the saddle on the knee. So I've got the 24-inch square mounted to the back of the saddle, which I'm using as a datum. And then I've got a tense indicator here, and I'm just it's moving around a little bit because I have to push up against the guiding way. So I've got a camera mounted here to get some footage of the indicator here. I think I'm about 3, maybe 4/10, and I can get about 6-7 inches of travel here with the setup I have. I wish I remembered how to use this camera. There, I think it's recording now. Well, that didn't work. I've got the indicator mounted stationary and I got the camera moving, so that's not what I was looking for. So I've got a little better setup now. I've got the I got the camera mounted stationary over top of the stationary indicator here. And it's hard because I'm trying to hold pressure against the guiding way at the same time as trying to actually move the saddle at the same time, so it's a little difficult, which is why I'm trying to get the gib finished and fitted so that I can apply the pressure on the saddle and move it with the lead screw. Almost had a little bit of an oops here. I was getting ready to start using the yoke and setting it up to fit the gib for the saddle, and I had forgotten that I need to get this mounting surface flat and parallel to the ways, because I want the yoke to be sitting in the right orientation so that I don't have any kind of tip in the nuts, because I want the ball screws, or not ball screws, the lead screws to move through there freely, right? So any kind of an out of alignment on the pads where this mounts will affect that. So this corner here, I've got this as a 0. I got 1.5 thou going this way here. I got 2 thou across to here, and I got 1 2/10 going this way. So this will be the bottom, and then this will be the high spot here. So I need to step scrape those surfaces there. And I just had a piece of aluminum that was big enough to span all this surface here. So I'm going to use this. I scraped it in. I mean, I wouldn't call it a master by any means, but it's flat enough that I can create a flat mounting surface for the yoke. I finished up the step scraping as I had laid it out, and then this is now my second bluing here, and what I'm trying to do is make sure that I've got a flat surface here so that as I'm measuring for the height of this, that it's in one plane. So I'm going to work away at this and get this good and flat. Just a mounting surface, you know, not a bearing surface by any stretch of the imagination. It's just got to be flat and in plane and parallel to the other surfaces. So that's what I'm just going to try and get this flat, and then we can measure it and see where we're at. The surface is getting fairly flat now. I've only done about 3 or 4 cycles. I'm going to hit this one more time and then get it back on the surface plate and measure the 4 corners for depth. So what I'm doing here is I'm just measuring from here down to this 1, 2, 3 block on the 4 corners. So I've still got 1 thou across there, 1 thou across here, and 1 thou across this way. So I'm going to calculate some step scraping and repeat the process, get another flat surface, and then come back here and verify. So we got about half of what I was shooting for the first time around. This was one of the other things that I had to get made up. I didn't have, well, I shouldn't say I didn't have, but this is what was in the yoke. It looks like somebody had taken a socket-headed cap screw, and it looks like they welded up the OD of the cap. Anyway. So I made up 2 of these. It's 5/16 18. It's about a 1/4 inch head on there, and then I think this diameter I had 11/16. And I made the slot. I just used my 5C collet adapter on my compound, and I put an end mill in the lathe. And so that fits one of those nice, those big drivers nicely. So as you adjust the dual nut system, this becomes the lock for this direction. And I'm trying to make sure I've got, like I say, as I fit the gib, I want to be able to crank the saddle and move it with the lead screw. So I've got the little rotary table that I think that was Tools and Things 22, and I spun up a little locating pilot, and these are the this is the second one. I've already done one, and it's installed on the Bridgeport. These are the bearing keepers, and I need to put the 1/4 20 socket-headed cap screw counterbores in there. Just got some spacers just so that I'm not drilling into the table, and just get that down on there. And then I just got a washer that I just changed the diameter just slightly, just so it just grabs. Just got to snug that. Just not a lot of force on that, and then I'm going to trying to get the word out. I'm going to run a center drill. Finally, I'm going to run a center drill, 1/4 inch drill, and then the countersink tool, 3 spots, 120 degrees. So I'm really excited about what's going on here. Part of the work I had been doing was getting some things ready so that I could use the lead screw to move the saddle while I'm bluing up the gib. And this is first pass spotting the gib, which is not bad actually. I'm pretty happy with that. What I'll probably do is clean it, blue it one more time, make sure it's coming in the same way. One of the other things that's going on is with the lead screw in now, I've been able to align it. I had to put 20 thou under the yoke to get back on the same split pins for the front housing for the crank handle. I'm not real happy about that. I'm not sure where my error is. I thought I had done all my math and had everything lined up. I rechecked a couple of things, and I'm in the ballpark for the table, the actual table ways to line up with the bore and the yoke, which is probably more important to me. If I have to, I'll do something with this housing in the front. But off of eBay, I picked up a couple of nuts, split nuts. I've got my new yoke in there, and I can't stress enough the importance of adjusting that. I've basically got 3 thou of backlash here, which I know isn't perfect, but for a couple of brass nuts and a lead screw that was in here, I'm very happy. And the process was pretty simple, and when I strip it all down and put it back together, I'll go through that process. It's I got it out of the book was called A Guide to Renovating the Bridgeport 1 J-Heads milling machine. Really good resource, and I just followed the procedure, and worked out really well. So and like I say, with the saddle, being able to crank the saddle, I can bring it in to position where I've got the bluing over here on the gib side, and then I can tap the gib in, get a good spot, and then take the table away from it. So That's going to work out good for getting that dialed in now.